Okay, so I think that's everybody for now. So welcome. This is our first East of England Mental Health Conference for Sport and Physical Activity. This is being delivered as part of the Mind Regional Network Hub for East of England. My name is Alicia Polak. I'm a Health Project Officer at Herts Sports Partnership. And today we've got a lovely guest speakers with us today. But first of all, let's just go through some housekeeping for today. So if you could please keep yourself muted at all times to reduce any background noise. If you could also keep your video off, please. The session is being recorded. And any questions for our guest speakers, if you could please put it in the chat box. And towards the end of the session, we'll go through a Q&A and I'll read those questions out to our guests. Also, just to let you know, this webinar may contain some sensitive content. So if you find any elements of it triggering, please feel free to take time out and return to us when you feel ready to rejoin the session. You can also let me know if you need some extra assistance or help on the day. Support available to you, some great helplines available if you feel like you need to speak to someone. So I'll just leave this slide here for a couple of seconds if somebody would like to take a screenshot or take a photo of it. And just to touch briefly on the East of England Mind Regional Network Hub. So this conference is being delivered as part of the events calendar. So the program is funded by Sport England through Mind. The program aims to bring together sport, physical activity and mental health organisations in the Eastern region to share best practice and updates, increase collaboration and partnership working. We work very closely with 5 active partnerships in the region: Active Essex, Team Beds and Luton, Living Sport, Active Suffolk and Active Norfolk. If you would like to get in touch with myself or any of the other active partnerships, you can contact me through the email address or the telephone number on the screen. I will leave this for you here for a second if you would like to screenshot that or take a photo. Okay, so without further ado, may I introduce Carrie Norman, who's a Services Manager at Hearts Mind Network, and Liam Dwyer, Physical and Mental Wellbeing Officer at Watford Community Sports and Education Trust. And they're going to talk to us about the Just Talk campaign. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Alicia. Hi, so I'm Caris, as Alicia said, work for Hertfordshire Mind Network, and I've been kind of working on the Just Talk project now since its infancy at the very beginning. So welcome to this afternoon webinar. I'm going to turn my camera off now that you can all see the slides. And we have about 40 to 45 minutes to kind of introduce the campaign, talk about partnership working and the implementation of this through different partners, and then look at kind of how maybe you could do that as different settings. So just to note before we start as well that the presentation today will include slides that any organisation or setting can use when supporting parents or any school-aged children. And throughout the slides, there'll be different contact details to grab them. And at the end as well, if you had anything, we can put it in the group chat. So the purpose of them and today's webinar is to raise awareness of mental health and the Just Talk partnership and campaign in particular. The slides are designed to kind of provide clear and simple information, and they can be adapted so that you could tailor them to suit your setting or the amount of time you have or what audience you are delivering them to. So do feel free to use them alongside your own resources and information as well. For example, when we are delivering support or workshops in schools, we'll often use the Just Talk logo and the 5 Ways to Wellbeing logo, but have that alongside our own Hertfordshire Mind Network logo that you can see there. If you do have any questions about Just Talk, then do obviously use the chat, but also feel free to contact us at justtalk@hertfordshire.gov.uk. Could I have next slide, please, Alicia? Thank you. So what is Just Talk? Before we start, could I ask a poll of kind of how many of you have heard of the campaign. I think Alicia's you should see it on your screens now. So if you could just do that, it gives us a little bit of an insight into if any of us have heard of it and understand it. Okay, so 50% said yes, so that's great. We've obviously done some work today around that, so that's good to see. Still quite a few of us that are no, and hopefully after today you'll have a better understanding and also see how you could use this in your areas of work. So thank you for that. So Just Talk is a campaign that's aiming to help make it easier for children and young people to feel comfortable about talking openly about mental health, to also know how to look after their mental health and to know how to access support. So they're the three key main aims of it. It is a Hertfordshire-based campaign, however you can use it wherever you are. I'm aware this is an East of England conference, so if you're outside of Hertfordshire, you can use these. It's obviously just a case of tailoring it to you. But it is a Hertfordshire-based campaign which has now been running for a few years, and it really started from a group of organisations carrying out research into boys' mental health and emotional wellbeing as part of a wider piece of early intervention and prevention work, which evolved to become a campaign which is now part of everything for everyone to use. So we've had wide partner collaboration throughout, and at the core, co-production with young people, meaning that it really is needs-led and focused around young people's emotional wellbeing needs. So at the time, boys told us that they were more likely to cope with worries and stress by using physical activity, sports, technology and gaming, but also to only access help when they were more near a crisis point. On the other hand, girls are more likely to utilise support networks and chatting to friends on music and at a much earliest point. So the campaign at the very beginning was to target boys to try and look at that earlier intervention before they would get to crisis and encourage kind of talking amongst that group of people. But again, it's widened out now to be for anyone who kind of feels that the campaign relates to them, and really is to make it easier for children and young people to talk openly about their mental health and empowering them to build positive coping strategies really, and focus on the positive and consistent messages in our communication and provide practical tools for people to look after their own and others' mental health. So it really does have a empower kind of message sitting behind it. But as a bunch of professionals at the very beginning who were predominantly female, we knew that we needed to engage with other organisations to make it more relatable to the audience that we wanted to engage with. So we're fortunate to have two well-known football clubs near to us in Arsenal and Watford. So we got in touch to really pull on the power and influence of role models. We also used the increasing movement of celebrities that were coming forward and talking about mental health and emotional well-being more openly. So they had different actors or comedians and social media influencers involved too. And then to pull this together and to have the biggest impact that we could, we focused a lot of activities around Central Campaign Week during the year. And we previously tied this into Time to Talk Day in February, but after kind of working with schools and different organisations, this is now moved to the third week of November. So really trying to make it accessible to everyone, have a targeted piece of work during 1 week of the year to really encourage and empower young people to talk openly about mental health. Next slide, please, Alicia. So a big part of the campaign is to provide a centralised place for information. So the website of www.justtalkhearts.org. And it is a centralised place for information, providing really clear and simple information for both young people, parents and professional. And the website's fundamental to that. It really does bring everything together. It includes various resources from short films or lesson plans, and it's for anyone to use really. And it does have tips and guidance on how to make use of the resources. We are also now integrating the 5 ways to wellbeing into the mix a little bit. So we've recently developed some new materials which will include some new e-learning packages that will be hosted through the website. I think for us, this has proven to be one of the real benefits for us and many of the partners involved as we've worked collaboratively, is we've not had to reinvent the wheel. I think especially at a time where we've probably all been pulled and stretched a little bit as a response to responding to COVID, to know that these resources are just in one centralised place has been really beneficial. We know we can come here, get some validated and consistent content to support young people that we know will also be effective and relatable because young people themselves have been involved in the development of the campaign. We also know that the website and the professional has, the website and the platform has resources for professionals, but also young people themselves. So amongst every kind of group of person in terms of parent or young person or professional, we're giving the same messages with the same branding, and the sites that we're referring them towards is just one consistent message. So it really consolidates the brand, and it kind of enables what young people to just remember one thing and take that away, rather than giving them lots of different settings or organisations and then kind of overwhelm them with things. We can just send them to one place that then has all of this information in one place. Next slide, please, Alicia. So it mentioned on the previous slide that there's been there's 25 plus organisations across Hertfordshire that have worked together to make sure that young children and young people have had everything that they need and make it accessible. And these are some of these are just some of the partners, and they've really been built up through CCGs and NHS staff alongside public health and local authority, lots of community and voluntary sectors, organisations, but it brings together people who have contact with young people themselves, parents as well as professionals, so you can get lots of different insights and perspectives into then designing and keeping evolving the campaign, really, to make sure it's still effective in what we're trying to achieve. If you did want a whole list of different partners involved, then you can see that on the About Us section of the website. And if you wanted to get involved, then do get in touch. And we are very open to increasing that partnership. Next slide, please, Alicia. Thank you. So for me, it's about understanding and sharing some of the benefits as to why being in partnership matters and what it's meant for us as an organisation. Because I think when we're talking about a campaign or asking people to kind of get involved, there does need to be that mutual benefit at times when things are stretched, capacity is stretched, resources are stretched. So it's about making it work for everyone involved. And I've touched on kind of, I suppose, the accessibility of not having to reinvent the wheel. It's there. You don't need to spend that much time thinking about things, especially because it gives that evidence-based model of the 5 ways to wellbeing now as well. And we know that it's informed by young people. I think for us as well, it provides a platform to get lesson plans, hints and tips about how to implement it. So it really does save that time. I know for Hertfordshire Mind Network, it's meant that as an organisation and a local mind in Hertfordshire, our messages now are inclusive of the campaign and the wider Hertfordshire messages that are being shared by the statutory bodies and public health, which I think for young people is really helpful, because if we're all talking the same language, it gets rid of some of the jargon. It makes a clearer passage and pathway. There's less confusion of mixed messages. And I think it's really helpful that if we are all on the same page as professionals, that is made as simple as possible for parents and young people trying to navigate their way through. It also, from our perspective, has just meant that we're able to increase our profile. So we've definitely seen an increase in young people knowing who we are as a result of being involved in the partnership. I think typically local minds have been known for mainly supporting adults. And whilst we do that, and we are supporting parents through this. It's also been a development of ours across the whole kind of network of local minds of children and young people to work to respond to the evolving need. So definitely has made us more known within that community and cohort of people. And it's also allowed us to share expertise. It's meant that we are able to share skill sets, learning from, example, Liam, who's going to talk about it from Watford Football Club's perspective. You know, we've recently worked with a theatre company, so where we're able to offer our mental health expertise, they're able to offer us a new skill set and really embed kind of key ways of working and best practice across 2 different domains. So that's been really helpful for us as well, and really kind of upskilling our workforce in new areas. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the integration of the 5 ways to wellbeing and kind of creation of resources into this. I'm not going to talk too much on this because I know Liam is going to talk about how he's implemented each of the 5 ways to wellbeing in his section. But just to kind of, I suppose, note that there's 5 ways to wellbeing. It was developed by the New Economics Foundation. It's an evidence-based model, and it really focuses on 5 things that if we do, we know will increase our wellbeing. So keep learning. So the idea that we keep learning new things stimulates the mind. If we take notice of the world around us and have that pause, we know that that helps us. Connecting with others, which obviously is a Just Talk campaign, really pulls on in terms of opening and sharing and talking. Being active, we all know the links around physical wellbeing and mental health, and obviously it's great to see the collaboration between that today and today's conference. And give, so giving and looking out for others and helping others. So we know that doing each of those things contributes to a better wellbeing, but I know Liam's going to go into more detail on each of them a bit later. So next slide, please, Alicia. So Just Talk has created some different toolkits. I talked about having resources available to us on the website and the development of different toolkits. So there's toolkits for primary schools, secondary schools, non-school settings, and it really does go into great detail about how we can use these to fit our setting. So again, for example, we can tailor this so that you could have the Just Talk logo and then our logo next to it, for example, or we could just have the 5 ways to wellbeing with our logo to the side as well. So it is kind of tailorable. You can change it, you can adapt it. I think for us, it's just making sure that the key messages are there for all to access. Hopefully, following today, if you're not already, you really will make use of this and really find them a useful tool to help young people and support them along their emotional well-being with quite relatively little effort, given that it's all there for us to use. And a lot of that work has been done in terms of validating that alongside the co-production all the way through from the very beginning in terms of the research as to why we even put a campaign together. The logo of Just Talk was designed by young boys in Hertfordshire, and right through to the testing of the different sites that's had young people involved. So I'm now going to pass over to Liam, who will demonstrate how, as a partner of Just Talk, they've been able to implement kind of this in terms of what in their setting, in their practice. So over to you, Liam.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So basically, one of the poll slides we've probably done is who's heard of the Watford FC Community Trust, but in case you've not heard of us, we're a charity. We are the charity arm of the football club, and we've been going for over 25 years. And basically, our mission is to make a positive difference, all through sport, physical activity, and learning. However, in the last couple of years, our programs began, and we've been able to help kind of promote a strong message around the importance of mental well-being for all that we serve through our program, Positive Minds, but actually across other programs across the Watford FC Trust. So So my role is I am the physical and mental health officer for the football club. I'm one of 3 full-time members of staff that we have, and we run 4 different programs. We also have a pool of facilitators that help deliver our programs as well. And actually, thanks to the Just Talk campaign and public health, we were able to get all of our staff trained up in mental health first aid, which was really important, that they felt prepared and were educated, but were also demonstrating best practice by having that training. The 4 programs that we run, we have Positive Minds Education, which is where we go into year 6, year 8 and year 9, and it's a prevention strand of the program. And we run 10 weeks worth of sessions around the topic of mental health. The main 3 things that are kind of our non-negotiables that we want each student to gain across our 10 weeks of classroom sessions, which are for 1 hour, is how to understand your own mental health and the concept of what mental health is and what it means for us. Be able to identify 3 effective, appropriate coping strategies, and also be able to identify not only self-care but also a support network that can best support you with your own mental well-being if you were struggling. So this could be members of your family, people at school, trusted adults. It could be reliable peers, but it could also be help services as well. So we run Positive Minds Education, and then we also run Positive Minds Online, which I'm going to discuss a little bit more later on. We've got our Empower program, which is a physical and wellbeing kind of activity session, and this is part of our intervention strand where we take children, both boys and girls, between the ages of 9 and 12. We do a 12-week course, which is fun physical activity sessions. So it could be a mixture of football, dodgeball, basketball, dance, lots of different varied types of activities. And we also have wellbeing workshops. And this is trying to reach kind of kids that are currently struggling with their mental wellbeing, but also, might be going through kind of low mood, anxiety, depression. What we're seeing more and more of is actually children that have struggled with the transitional year, going from year 6 to year 7 as well. We have our Man On program, which is for 18 to 65-year-old men, which is also an intervention strand where we deliver a 1-hour free football session each week, alongside of a wellbeing workshop for a group of 16 men in the Watford area. And last but not least, we've got our Coach the Approach program, which is a grassroots football coach education program for grassroots football coaches across the county to be able to spot the signs, how to have an effective conversation around mental wellbeing, also how best to support a player that could be struggling with mental wellbeing, and referring them to the right organisations for further care. Next slide, please. So we started 2.5 years ago, back in February 2018, and the Just Talk campaign, public health were really, really important for us. Like I said earlier, they helped train our staff, which was really important to kind of give them the right credentials and the right knowledge to be able to go out and have a positive impact in the correct manner. But it's also been fantastic to, provide support to each other, whether this is through campaigns, and supporting each other's campaigns. So in the photos, we've got Jen Beer, who heads the Just Talk campaign, making a very impassioned speech just before a Watford FC fixture last year in front of 20,000 fans, so a really good wide network. We've also had radio interviews. We've featured on Match for Day. We've had various stuff where we've been able to kind of promote and support each other's campaigns to good effect. For us, what's really important about Just Talk campaign is we go in and we do very good intervention work and prevention work, but as a program, we don't have our own kind of resources, or kind of word I like to use is toolkit. So what Just Talk provides with their kind of online resources is really important, so we can actually support our young people to actually, help with their self-care and help to empower them to, maintain good well-being. So normally in the back of our kind of booklets or any work we do, we normally have the Just Talk website, and we strongly advise that they access the toolkit and stuff they've got online. And then the other thing is also kind of sharing each other's expertise and feedback on each other's programs. So we both sit on each other's steering groups, you know, when we have ideas and we or new kind of initiatives or kind of campaigns for us, and working alongside Just Talk. It just gives us a really good kind of partner that kind of you know, helps to kind of share ideas and bounce ideas off, and helps reassure us that we're doing the right things and we're having a positive impact on the people that we work with. Next slide, please. I think why I feel this best practice is so important is, you know, I think strength in numbers is really, really important. And as Karis was saying earlier, it's really important that, you know, as two organisations working alongside each other, it's really important that we have that consistent message and we're able to, you know, align ourselves, align our values, but also support each other, also through each other, get that message out to a wider audience, you know, and that's really kind of important for us. I think also as well, being involved with Just Talk gives us a kind of good validation and gives us a good kind of credibility, you know, which is very hard when you're associated to a kind of football club. You know, normally the question that gets asked of us is, why is a football club going into schools or, you know, running these sessions around kind of mental health and wellbeing? And, you know, when we align ourselves to kind of Just Talk campaign and they're supporting us, it helps us have that kind of relevance and that credibility. Especially when, you know, your club's recently been relegated from the Premier League. You know, once again, sharing best practice, being able to network for each other and have that wide range of contacts, it's really, really important. The film competitions that Just Talk do is a really fantastic initiative that we're able to offer to schools that we work with as well, which kind of adds another string to our bow. And, you know, it's really important that an example that we're going to come on to is speaking about the kind of our Positive Minds online program. We went to kind of Just Talk, we went to Gen Beer and asked, you know, is this a good idea? Is it relevant? Is it important? And, you know, we got a really positive response. We got good support, but also we got put onto a newsletter for schools across the county. And, you know, we had over 100 schools get in contact across the county, which is 1 in 6, to become involved in our program, which is really important for us as well. So yeah, being involved with Just Talk campaign helps us reach that wider demographic and helps to kind of establish ourselves as a effective program. Next slide, please. So two of the things that I kind of want to kind of share about what we've kind of gained from Just Talk and that we've been able to use the resource really, really well is the 5 ways to wellbeing, but also a resource that I use, which is called the Stress Bucket, which appears in our curriculum. And we've used this across, I think, 4 out of the 5 strands of our program. They're kind of cornerstones within our kind of teaching, really, really 2 key topics. So, you know, we're really, you know, if you come away from today and you think that these would be good for your programs or your organisations, I'm more than happy to be kind of contacted and, you know, answer any questions or kind of continue to kind of share that best practice. The reason why we think they're really good is, you know, we believe within our program it's important to educate people, but also more importantly, it's important that we equip people. So, you know, that they're able to kind of build kind of their own knowledge, their own skill set, to be resilient and be able to manage it, you know, manage any kind of mental health issues or difficulties effectively. And that's why we really like these 2 topics and we think they work really, really well. Next slide, please. So starting with the 5 ways to wellbeing, since we started delivering schools in 2018, 5 ways to wellbeing has always kind of featured within our curriculum. How it looks like in our school sessions is normally we kind of teach the theory around the 5 ways to wellbeing. We have it as something that people should try and achieve on a daily basis. And then we also have kind of 5 questions that kind of can enable the students we work with, whether it's in Positive Minds, or whether it's through Empower, of how they can achieve the 5 ways to wellbeing. And we think it's really good because we think it's very holistic. It kind of covers all bases, and you know, it's helping people to kind of equip them and manage their own self-care and to kind of promote good wellbeing to others and look after their own wellbeing. Now, during lockdown 2020, we had to stop all of our school delivery. We had 9 schools booked in that we were meant to be working in kind of face-to-face across the summer. And so we decided to change our kind of platform to online, and we had various kind of conversations within my team of how can we make it engage and how can we make it exciting, you know, doing stuff sometimes through, I'm sure as your experience at the moment, through kind of laptops and through Teams or through videos isn't always the most dynamic and kind of entertaining, but we wanted to kind of set kind of like challenges and you know, still promote that good message around kind of positive like mental health and self-care. So what we did is we set up a 5 ways to wellbeing challenge, where across a week on each day, students had some kind of complete tasks to kind of demonstrate and show that they could achieve the 5 ways to wellbeing. And one of our key findings was, if you set it as a task, a lot of kind of children and young people don't really want to do a task. It sometimes gets seen as a chore. As soon as you put the word challenge to it and you put it alongside a video of yourselves dressed up as Power Rangers completing these 5 tasks, all of a sudden it becomes a lot more interesting, and there's a bigger buy-in from the students, and see what children and young people are actually wanting to kind of take on this 5 ways to wellbeing challenge and try and implement it for themselves. And we had some really, really good feedback from schools about how to about this campaign, to the extent where actually the Watford FC CSE Trust and the actual football club as well decided to launch their own Twitter campaign during summer, during Mental Health Awareness Week, to do it to a wider audience as well. So this concept kind of grew and grew and grew and ran. So I'm just going to go through them now. So next slide, please. So day one, we had about being active. So as Karis, and I'm sure a lot of you, I mentioned earlier, and a lot of you are aware, you know, the importance for our mental being of being active and stuff. So we had stuff about, you know, going out for a run, walk, cycle outside. Can you create an exercise that cannot be done, or that can be done in the garden? You know, filming a goal celebration, you know, or creating a TikTok style dance. I didn't really know what TikTok was, but I hear that it's very popular amongst young people. So, and you know, we got a lot of kind of stuff, and the way that the Positive Mind Online worked was we would send out the topics, the challenges through pieces of work, whether they were kind of online videos of us explaining the task, and also these worksheets as well. And then they were given the work and each day to kind of complete it and then feed it back. And the amazing thing was we were inundated across, you know, I think in the end we worked with 93 schools across the county who took part. Was we had so many of this, you know, footage coming in of, you know, children doing each of the 5 ways to wellbeing tasks and stuff. And it was just brilliant for us to see, because I think when we initially did it, we didn't think anyone was going to bother do it, and we weren't really sure. But, you know, once again, the message from kind of Jen and Just Talk was, no, this will be really good. People will buy into it. And there was a really good buy-in. And alongside each of the kind of challenges set was why it's really important to be active, you know. So we've got the slide alongside it with, you know, it can improve our mood and well-being and decrease stress, depression, anxiety, which all were very apparent during a global pandemic, and which is why it was really important for us to be able to teach this message of the 5 ways to wellbeing to help support people's holistic wellbeing. Next slide, please. So the second kind of task we set was connect. So once again, we were trying to look at different ways that people connect. So, you know, we wanted to have that message of, you know, the importance of having that good support network and people to support us, but also how can we support others. So we had different ways of doing it. So we were very big on walks and talks, and this is something we talk about. If you're struggling, can you go out for a walk and talk about it with someone? Or also using social media in a positive way, which sometimes within children and young people, it's not always used in that positive way. You know, we also had stuff about trying to connect with kind of relatives, distant people, people that you know from on a daily basis at school, etc. And then actually, when we put this out to the wider thing on Twitter, we wanted to make sure that all of the challenges that were set could be done with anyone. So whether it was a young child, whether it was an older adult, whether it was your kind of average football fan, you know, and just trying to have them so it was really accessible and really easy for people to implement, which is what happened. We had a wide range of people sharing different examples of how they were connecting or being physically active. Next slide, please. So third one was forgiving. So the trust set up as a charity, our kind of 2.6 challenge, which was all about raising money. But we also had stuff of kind of sharing examples of how you've helped someone, how you've been able to support or, you know, especially during difficult times, or what have you been able to do to kind of, you know, have a positive impact on someone. So that was the kind of example we did. The trust and the club were very big on trying to ensure that people also helped and gave back to the charity during a difficult time, while also being a part of a physical activity session. Next slide, please. So the next one was taking notice. So we had, you know, people taking photos of something that, or something of somebody that's very important in their life, writing down who their inspirational heroes are, you know, and what are the good values that they have that we want to take, writing down what we're grateful for, drawing a picture of something in your house, in your garden, or out your window, so being aware of what's out there, and, you know, choosing a favourite photo. So we had loads of really positive kind of feedback from schools around this one. So that really helped kind of help the people we were working with and the wider people within our kind of community, whether that's football fans through the club or people that follow the Watford FC Trust. And a lot of this we shared across social media. Sorry, I should have probably said that earlier. So we did this through kind of to a wider audience through our social media. So whether it was Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc. But we got a lot of good feedback from it when we were on through the Twitter and the club, and the trust had a lot of kind of people DMing messages and stuff and trying to share what they had done. So I think by this one, which was take notice, this was the Thursday during the week, which kind of aligned really well to Mental Health Awareness Week. Number 5, which was, sorry, next slide please, was about keep learning. So, you know, learning a new skill, learning something, a phrase from a new language. We had all these different examples of people being creative or learn, you know, a new fact. My favourite fact that came back from a school was we got an email from a teacher with a child who on video said that sharks are 400 million years older than trees. And that was something I did not know before. And I absolutely loved that fact. And it's just stuck with me since. So some of the work we got back for Keep Learning was really good. And it was great as part of the challenge to kind of get, you know, children and young people engaged with wanting to learn new things and still continue that development during a global pandemic when they weren't at school. And often the feedback from school was they weren't very highly motivated to be learning from home. So it's about trying to do it in a fun way. Next slide, please. So we were inundated with loads and loads of different photos and stuff. So I've just picked a few. So we've got a kind of goal celebration. We've got people drawing something outside the house. You know, people engaging with the work that we were doing online, the worksheets, the quizzes, etc. People doing gymnastics. The cup on the head, I'll explain, is in week 2 for building resilience. We set an activity which was trying to practice box breathing in a stressful situation. Now, the global pandemic is a very stressful situation, but we had the idea of people balancing a cup and ball on their head or a cup with a small amount of water and trying to use box breathing in that stressful situation to try and concentrate, enhance their thinking, remain calm and do it. And once again, a really fun activity that captured the kind of imaginations of the people that we work with and got them engaged with the topic and taking part. The last one, which are the hands, we do a task which is a support network, which is writing in your thumb, people that can support you at home, people that can support you, you know, outside of home, so at school, etc. You know, the middle of the hand is something that you can talk to that can't talk back. So whether it's speaking to yourself in the mirror, or whether it's pets, etc. And the last one in the wrist is who you can speak to in emergency. So just help and empower the children, young people we work with to have a wider understanding of their support network. Once again, all of these kind of ideas and concepts, we haven't kind of thought about them on the spot. By the Power Rangers video that we did to support the 5 ways to wellbeing, this has all come through consultation, sharing good practice, sharing ideas with the Just Talk campaign, which has really helped our program to flourish. And you know, across the kind of lockdown with this online program, we worked with 3,000 children across the county, which we're really proud of, because especially during a kind of difficult, unprecedented times, I think the phrase that was thrown about a lot, we were really, really pleased about this, and that we're able to have that kind of strong impact. And I think also, lastly, it was just really important that it was fun and it was engaging, and you know, it was that positive feedback we had from schools as well, and those testimonies which are up on our website, which we were delighted with as well. Next slide, please. So the last one is one of our favourite resources that we use is the Stress Bucket, which we've been using since April 2018 during phase 1 of our programme. You know, especially during, we use this on our kind of online programme as well. During the summer, we use it for Empower, and we've also used it for the Man-On sessions. The Stress Bucket's really good because it helps children to kind of understand and identify stresses, but also think of effective coping strategies to overcome and master the stressor, also looking at how to build resilience as well. So, you know, a really, really good resource. The kind of concept is that, you know, if we have no coping strategies or kind of no outlet, the bucket will, you know, if water was distress and it's coming into the bucket and it's slowly filling up, when it overfills, you know, that's what can lead to kind of mental illness or kind of poor mental well-being. So having these coping strategies, and once again, it lines considerably into what our kind of 3 main outcomes are, and it's brilliant because it educates and equips the children and young people with a really good resource and tool to do. So normally they do this in their work booklets or in their task sheets, and they take it away and it's theirs, and you know, that emphasis, and they can have more than 3, but it helps our message of making sure we have good coping strategies to manage mental well-being, you know, whether that's through the stress of being kind of global pandemic, or whether it's through school or friendships, etc. It's a really good tool that we use, and one that we got from the Just Talk campaign. Next slide, please. So kind of some of the stuff that we feedback about where our people can go to kind of find support. We've got Just Talk at Herts.org. We've got other support services as well, which Health for Kids or Health for Teens. You know, we recommend Young Minds and Hearts as well through our kind of booklet as well, which alongside other kind of resources. And a big message that we kind of through the Just Talk campaign, but also ours, is also speaking to your GP or doctor, or you know, how to access the local NHS provider for mental health, which is in our area, it's HPFT, the Hertfordshire Partnership Foundation Trust. So these are all really good resources that you know, Just Talk ourselves recommend. Next slide, please. And then the benefits of being associated with a kind of football club is we can get that endorsements from whether it's Watford players or Harry the Hornet, or being able to host meetings and stuff at the stadium, etc., which is really good. And there's loads of testimonies on the Just Talk website as well. But also, more importantly as well, which is really important, is we've also got some really kind of good testimonies from kind of young people and adults sharing their stories, but also kind of sharing good practice as well, which can be really, really important, you know, in ensuring that people kind of access the right support and feel inspired and motivated to as well. I think as well at the moment, there should be a second poll coming up at the moment, which is kind of how confident would you feel at the moment about implementing kind of the 5 ways to wellbeing and the stress bucket into your own kind of practice and setting. So if you'd be able to kind of complete that, it'd be much appreciated. And then next slide, please. And then the last is just if, for myself or Karis, if there's any kind of questions or anything that anyone would like to kind of ask, etc. I don't know if Karis, if you have anything to add.
No, I don't think so. I just, from that poll, I'm glad to see that a few people said they obviously felt more comfortable and confident to implement some of that. There were a few kind of part leaves, so I think anyone that does want either any support or any more information about it, do visit the website. There are a lot of resources on there and a lot of tips and guidance on how to use materials, but also feel free to get in contact with Just Talk themselves at sorry, I've just realised my video's not on, at the Just Talk at hertfordshire.gov.uk, or myself or Liam or anyone kind of in the partnership, and we'd be more than happy to kind of support or virtually meet at this time to kind of go through that, I suppose, a little bit more, if there was anyone that wanted a bit more support with that, but nothing else.
Thank you very much, guys. That was a brilliant session. I can't see any more questions coming through the chat box. So if there's anyone who would like to ask a question, please drop one in now, or alternatively, you can send an email directly to myself and I can pass that on to Liam and Karis. Okay, I don't think we'll get any questions. Nothing's coming through. So thank you very much. We'll finish the session here. It's been a lovely day and a pleasure to have you all. Thank you for your support, and please get in touch if you would like to collaborate with the Mind Regional Network Hub or any of the speakers that presented today. So thank you very much, and